Hello again, this is P2R7 again with another commentary for Disney vs. non-Disney villains Part 2 on Round 7, which is the live-action round. Finally, the live-action villains make their appearance in the war. And, also, Sanford Woman, if you're watching this, I'd like to say, I'm glad that you liked my, fight that I recently made. That would be my second fight that I've made. So I hope you and Manwu enjoy both fights I've done, if that gives y'all any ideas. So, let's go ahead and get started with this round. Starting with Kurla Deville versus Freddy Krueger. Mock uploads to a supercomputer and sends Kurla to the live-action universe to open the gateways of hell, where we see the live-action Kurla Deville from the live-action 101 Dalmatians. But it's there that she'll face the infamous, the notorious Freddy Krueger. And then there's Pinhead. Yeah, when I first heard you guys were going to use live-action villains, I totally did not expect Freddy Krueger and Pinhead, because that's kind of the dark side, isn't it? Because those are both horror movie villains, because Freddy Krueger is from the Nightmare on Elm Street series, and Pinhead is from Hellraiser, I think is the name of the movie he's from, which neither movie I've ever seen before, and I don't know much about these two villains, so yeah. But it is interesting to have these two allied with each other. It makes sense. And even though I don't know much about Freddy Krueger, I am glad they're using the 1980s version instead of the 2010 version, because the 80s version looks much better. Anyway, Pinhead sends Krueger to stop Kurla. And also, another thing is, since I knew you guys were going to use Krueger, or figured, that... hold on. Yeah, I like the sound bites used for this round. Anyway, yeah, when I first heard you were going to use Krueger, I did not expect Kurla. When I first heard this, I was like, what? But after watching this fight, it makes sense. It was very well edited. Like, I was expecting Krueger to fight, like, one of the Pirates of the Caribbean villains, like Davy Jones, or Blackbeard, or someone like that. I actually hope to see a fight like that. Davy Jones versus Freddy Krueger, or something like that. I think that'd be pretty cool. But this fight was still pretty well edited. And I'm just wondering, now that you're having the live-action control, I'm guessing you may also use footage of her from 102 Dalmatians, maybe? Because that gives you more footage of her, possibly. Anyway, now we have Commander Sark from Disney's Tron versus Gideon Graves from Scottish Pilgrim vs. the World. The Master Control Program sends Sark to stop an evil music module named Gideon Graves, and he interrupts the party. Neither of these movies I've seen before. I am familiar with Tron, even though I've never seen the movie. I heard it's a pretty poorly film to the animation, I can tell here. Although Sark and the Master Control Program seems to be pretty cool villains, I hope to see. I hope to know what you have planned for them. And as for Gideon Graves, I'm not familiar with them, because I've never seen Scottish Pilgrim vs. the World, nor heard of it. Although the actor does look kind of similar. Alright, now we go to... Hold on. Okay, yeah, sorry about that. Morgana Le Fay from Disney's The Sorcerer's Apprentice versus Bavmorda from the 1980 film Willow. Bavmorda plans to use some kind of evil magic or something, but then gets interrupted by Morgana. I actually did not expect to see Morgana Le Fay in here, because she was only a minor villain in The Sorcerer's Apprentice, which, by the way, was a really good movie. And as for Bavmorda, I know nothing about her, because I've never seen the movie Willow, nor heard of it. So, yeah, I just don't have much to say about this fight, because I don't know much about the non-Disney villain. Well, the interesting way to end Morgana, because she really just doesn't have that much footage, so yeah. But I wonder what you have planned for Bavmorda, even though, like I said, I know nothing about her. Alright, Davy Jones from Disney's Pirates of the Caribbean demonstrates and at World's End, versus Goro for Mortal Kombat. Shang Tsung tries to have Davy Jones be part of his Mortal Kombat champions and all, but he refuses, and Shang Tsung feels a little, I guess, insulted or whatever, and it suggests if he fights one of his champions, then he'll leave Davy Jones alone, which he agrees to the challenge and fights Goro. Yeah, again, another non-Disney film I'm not familiar with. Although, if I recall, Mortal Kombat, I believe the movie is based off of the video game series, which from what I hear is a pretty violent video game, so I don't know if the movie is also violent or not. And how old is the movie? I mean, because Goro, he looks like some kind of Muppet reject or something, I don't know. But I'm glad to see Davy Jones. I will say he's probably one of my favorite Disney live-action villains, along with Dr. Claw from Inspector Gadget. Alright, Judge Doom from Disney's Who Framed Roger Rabbit versus Count Olaf from a series of unfortunate events. Anyway, Judge Doom has Dr. Claw locked up. Funny, because I was just talking about Dr. Claw. But then Count Olaf and the Hook Hand Man arrives to try to free him. Alright, this part right here kind of confused me, because as y'all remember, Wise Guy was in round 7, and he was defeated by Hollywood. I thought that he was, that was the end of him. But now that I think about it, y'all never said anything that was the dip, like in the movie. I mean, it could just be like molasses or cheese dip or something. So yeah. This is probably one of my favorite fights in this round, mainly because I do like both movies, but it's mainly because it's really funny that, in a sense, nice soundbite there. In a way, if you think about it, you have two of the best comedian actors of this time fighting each other, because Judge Doom, he's played by Christopher Lloyd, and Count Olaf is played by Jim Carrey. So yeah, two really good comedian actors. Christopher Lloyd, he actually does play a lot of interesting characters, he does the voice of Rasputin and Murloc, and he is known for playing as a bunch of scientists. Like, he plays as the scientist in Back to the Future, and he also plays as that one scientist from Piranha 3D and Piranha 3 Double D. So yeah, he actually does make a good scientist, I'll have to say that. I was a bit disappointed that Judge Doom lost, but I'm guessing we're gonna see more of him later on in the future. And Count Olaf frees Dr. Claw, which I was so psyched that you're using Dr. Claw. Because Inspector Gadget, I do like that movie. And I did not expect to see Dr. Claw, because he's such an underrated Disney villain, in my opinion. So yeah, I wonder what you have planned for him in the future. And I wonder, are you going to be using footage from Inspector Gadget 2? Because he looks really different in the second movie. But I'm guessing not. I don't know. We'll just see what plans. I mean, this footage right here, it is from Inspector Gadget 2, but yeah. You know what I mean. Alright, this was an unusual fight right here. Maxim Horvath from Disney's The Sorcerer's Apprentice versus Malachite, who is not even a villain from a movie or a TV show. He's an internet villain from Suburban Nights, which is from that guy with the glasses.com, I think is what it's called. From the Nostalgia Critic or whatever. Which I'm not familiar with all that stuff. I never get involved with that guy. I don't know. So I don't know anything about this villain, although I am familiar with Horvath, because, like I said, I've seen The Sorcerer's Apprentice. But when I say it's unusual, I don't mean in a bad way, I just mean a very interesting way, that you have an internet villain. But, if you just watched my newest fight, which I'm pretty sure you did, which I know you liked it, because I used I used a different villain. It's not an internet villain, but I used a documentary villain, which I hope you find that interesting, if that gives you any ideas for any future fights. Anyway, now we have the Battle of Oz, which is Mombi and the Gnome King from Disney's Return to Oz versus the Wicked Witch of the West from The Wizard of Oz. this was interesting that it's very interesting that you're using the Wicked Witch of the West, because I mean, which it's not a bad thing, because The Wizard of Oz, it's a classic movie, and I don't know, I guess she's just one of those villains I didn't expect to see in this series. And as for The Return of Oz, I don't think I've ever seen the movie, so I know nothing about these two villains. What's funny is that, hold on. That, yeah, Mombi, she has her wheelers, and the Wicked Witch of the West has her flying monkeys. And it's also funny that the animation of both movies are pretty different. Because, you know, Return of Oz has its CGI, and The Wizard of Oz, it's more like, I don't know, some kind of old stop-motion type stuff, I don't know.
She's already.
Yeah, not much else to say about this fight. And I just wonder, what do you have planned for the Wicked Witch of the West? Of course, you will likely not tell me. We'll just have to wait and see what you have planned for her. You know what? When I first heard you were going to use the Wicked Witch of the West, I was expecting her to fight Jadis, which, yeah, it would have been easy to see that Jadis would have won. But, yeah, it makes sense, because both movies take place in Oz. And, yeah, that's the end of the Gnome King. But we'll see more of Mombi later on, I'm guessing. Alright, now we have Stang from Disney and Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland versus Count Rugen from The Princess Bride. Sent by Queen Bavmorda, I guess Count Rugen tries to take over the Red Queen's kingdom in Wonderland. I haven't seen either of these movies. I've seen bits and pieces of Alice in Wonderland, but I've never seen The Princess Bride, which is funny, because I was going through my parents' DVD cabinet, and I stumbled upon the movie. Like, we've had this movie for who knows how long, and I never even knew it, and never even seen this film. I'm just wondering, how did Stang win that fight? I mean, he just pushed Rugen over, and that was it? That was kind of confusing. Anyway, now this was a fight I was actually kind of waiting for to see. Ramsley from Disney's The Haunted Mansion versus Lord Voldemort from the Harry Potter series. I figured you guys use Voldemort, because Harry Potter's become really popular, even though, and I'm gonna feel really embarrassed to say this, but I've only seen the first Harry Potter film. I've seen bits and pieces of some of the others, but I haven't seen the whole things of each of them. So I don't know a whole lot about Voldemort, besides that he's like after Harry Potter and all that. As for Ramsley, I have seen The Haunted Mansion, which by the way was a good movie. And Ramsley, he's an interesting villain, even though you can't really do much with him because he has very little footage. And very nice use of this fire serpent from Harry Potter and combine it with that fire whatever in The Haunted Mansion, which I don't recall exactly. Yeah, I kind of figured Voldemort will win. Because how much footage he has.
What have I done, Steve? With your preposterous plan and absurd war. Now I'm bound by my indefatigable good form. Oh, I hate disappointed Steve, and I hate living this war body.
That, right there, had to have been the best soundbite you guys have done so far. Because it made it really seem like that Hook is referring to the war that's going on with the villains. So yeah, that was really creative. Anyway, yeah, we finally have Captain Hook versus the Gherkin. Anyway, as first of this, I was like, what, he changed forms or something? Because back in round 14, you used the James Isaac Captain Hook from the 2003 Peter Pan film. And right here, you're using the Dustin Hoffman Hook from Steven Spielberg Hook. But I guess but yeah, as I read, you're showing that that Captain Hook is aging because cartoon characters, when they're live-action characters, they tend to age a lot quicker. That's what almost happened to Hollywood, and not pretty. So yeah, now understand that why he used Hollywood, because this is a very interesting plot line right here. Anyway, even though this is a non-Disney film, but you're just using it as a Disney film, just it counts for now. And as for the Gherkin, I'm not familiar with him. I know he's from the movie Highlander, but yeah, again, another movie I've never seen nor heard, so I know nothing about this movie. I understand you were originally going to have Hook fight Van Pelt from Jumanji, which I was actually psyched to see that, but you used Van Pelt in the next round, so I was pretty glad. And then they get an unexpected visitor, Jadis from Disney's The Chronicles of Narnia, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Which I figured you'd have to use Jadis, because the Narnia movies have become pretty popular as well. And this surprised me that Jadis picked Hook over the Gherkin, and she sends him back to the animated realm. Old Captain Hook is back. And now for the epic log, where Kurla Deville meets up with Dr. Claw and Count Olaf and joins them, hoping they will help more with Mock's plan. Lord Cutler Beckett from the Pirates of the Caribbean movies holds in a meeting with the Sheriff of Nottingham from Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, and Cardinal Richelieu from the Disney's The Three Musketeers. Yeah, I did not expect to see Cardinal Richelieu. Although the Three Musketeers, it was a really good movie, so yeah, I'm actually pretty glad you're using him, even though I don't care for the villain, but still. And the Lord of Darkness meets up with Evil Genius.
Sun sets forever.
We will remake man in our image, not his.
That I did not see coming as well, because first he's showing Freddy Krueger and Pinhead. Now he's showing this devilish-looking villain who, if I recall, he's from the 1985 movie Legend, which I know nothing about. It sounds familiar, but I know nothing about. And as for Evil Genius, I know he's from the movie Time Bandits, which I'm not familiar with, but yeah. And Jadis holds in a meeting with her allies. Maxim Horvath, Mombi, and the Sanderson sisters from Disney's Hocus Pocus. And I'm guessing that when you do the are you going to do an all-out battle in the live-action universe? Because that'll be epic, especially with Jadis' forces. And Lord Saruman is contacted by his leader Sauron, which that I also did not see coming. That now you're using Lord of the Rings villains, even though just like with Harry Potter, I hardly watch Lord of the Rings. And Voldemort decides to make his move. So yeah, this was a really epic run, and I can't wait to see what you have planned for these live-action villains in the future. And I hope to see more live-action villains, like Imhotep from The Mummy and The Mummy Returns, Miles Quaritch from Avatar, or trying to think. I'm only thinking non-Disney live-action villains. I mean, there are a few Disney live-action villains I hope to see, like Andre Strassis from Mighty Joe Young, just because I love Mighty Joe Young. It's one of my favorite Disney live-action films. Or like Ian Howe from National Treasure, and there's a few other live action non-Disney villains besides the ones I just named. Like, I'm trying to think, or like Helen Cutter from Primeval. I mean, if y'all familiar with Primeval, that is a really awesome TV series. It's a BBC show like Doctor Who, except it's slightly different. really series. I would be so psyched if you guys used Helen Cutter in your series. But yeah. So this is my commentary on Disney vs. Non-Disney Villains Part 2, Round 7. And I will be bringing up the next round.